You're listening to the Sasha Davis Podcast, a show about overcoming fear and manifesting your dream life. Each week, we'll dive deep into real stories and tangible advice about spirituality, law of attraction, mindset, and money so that you can be your happiest, healthiest, and most abundant self. You ready? Here we go. I want to be one of those people who has like a fully sustainable farm, if you will. That's one of my goals that I'm manifesting, that I'm working on right now, is having a fully sustainable homestead. I would love to have like off-grid water, off-grid solar, all the things. So if you feel me on that, on the homesteading, that's kind of where I'm at. I definitely want to be like a homesteader. And I think I'm kind of on my way here. I'm going to try to fix my camera here. All right. And when you hop on, just give me like a thumbs up. Let me know that you're here. Today, I want to talk about, I can't believe it's day 4 already. It's kind of insane how quick like this time goes together. Time flies when you're having fun. Actually, that whole concept, for those of you who are interested in learning about it, linear time versus chronos time. And I operate very much on a chronos time, which is where you're in like this space of like joy and happiness and abundance, and time seems to fly by. And I think a lot of society runs on linear time, where, for example, like today is linear time. Like we started at 9 o'clock, right? Whereas chronos time is like, I'm just going to start when I feel like it. Think of like chronos time as being on like vacation, where things just seem to like fly by. And you're, before you know it, like the whole day is gone, right? So curious to see what you operate in. Are you linear time or are you chronos time? Okay, so today what I want to talk about, day 4, is I was going to talk about something different, but I want to talk about letting go of resistance, how to remove resistance, how to set boundaries, and how to protect our energy. A lot of times what comes up in resistance, we're not even really sure what, like the word, this is being all kinds of weird. There we go. The word resistance, what does that mean? And so resistance can show up in many different ways. It can show up basically, like, think of it as like obstacles being thrown at you, challenges being thrown at you, and it's up to you to overcome those challenges, up to you to prove to the universe or God or spirit or whatever it is that you believe in that you're serious about your goals. If you were 100% committed, how would you show up? You'd show up a little bit differently than just kind of like half-assing things. And so how do we let go of resistance and use our full ass to manifest things that we desire most, or to take inspired action towards the things that we desire most? And so one of the first things that I want to talk about is we have to figure out what your resistance looks like. And so I just put like the top 4 things that usually come up for people. A lot of times people will say stories like, there's not enough time, there's not enough energy, there's not enough money. Well, every time you say there's not enough, it's going back to that lack mindset. Hey guys, let me know you're here. Give me some thumbs up, show me some hearts or some chickens. I was talking about chickens earlier. If you love chickens too. And so 4 of the things that really start to creep in for people on what resistance looks like. The number one thing I would say is self-doubt. They don't really truly believe it's possible, or they question if this is possible. And they'll say you're going after a goal, and then all of a sudden you're like, is this really going to happen? Is this really da, 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 da? And you start to spiral backwards. It's like you're backpedaling, right? You're not 100% committed. You're not using your full ass. And so how do we let go of that self-doubt? You do it with action. Basically, how you clear any resistance is with action, with building your confidence and proving to yourself that you are worthy and you can do it. Okay. Self-doubt comes up a lot, though, which actually leads me to the next one, and that's self-sabotage. That's number 2. So this is where things, and if this relates to you, like, just say me too in the comments, or type self-doubt, self-sabotage, because this, honestly, like, you would be surprised at how many people experience this. I still experience it, and I have to kick my own ass from time to time. These are belief systems that have been part of our life for a very long time, and it's not something that you're just going to flip overnight. It takes practice, right? It took 30 years, 40 years for you to 20, 30, 40 years for you to get to this mind space, this mindset. It's not going to just flip a switch overnight, but with consistency and with action, you can prove to yourself that you are worthy, to believe in yourself more, to be more confident, to take more action, and to kind of let go of those limiting beliefs. Basically, like you're rewriting your story. For those of you who watched Ariel's live yesterday, she talked a little bit about how that baton, right? So if we don't overcome our beliefs, we're passing that baton on to the next generation. And so, not that it's any fault of yours or any fault of your parents, but monkey see, monkey do. The things that we learn and observe as children and as we grow, those are the things that we're going to embody until we learn differently, okay? Until we decide to take different action and teach that different action, different belief system to the next generation, to our community, to our family, to our kids, to our pets, whatever that looks like, okay? And so the next one, the self-sabotage. And this is probably the biggest one that I struggle with, to be honest. Things will start to be really good for me. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, just wait. I've had so many good things happen to me. Now something bad's going to happen. You just wait. This is going to happen or that's going to happen. And it creates like this sense of anxiety and overwhelm. Like I'm anticipating doomsday. You know what I mean? Or like, let's say I have a really great payday. I'm like, oh, just wait, there's going to be a really big bill. Like this happens actually a lot for people with money stories. They'll have an emergency fund and they'll put all of their money in an emergency fund. Well, what do you think is going to happen? An emergency, right? So you have to have different money accounts set up for different things that you want to achieve, so that money has a purpose, that money has a reason aside from emergency. So if you want to have like a vacation fund or a college fund or a retirement fund, you have to give it a different title because the energy behind the wording on something is very, very powerful. You know, when we grew up, people said, you know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. Bullshit. Words hurt. Words are powerful. I could walk you guys through a whole scenario of the power of words, the energy of words, but we'll save that for another time because I feel like I could do like a whole 2-hour workshop on just the energy behind words. There's actually some research out there. Go look at it. Basically, if you talk nice to plants or talk bad to plants, they'll grow faster or slower based on the language, the energy that you project onto them. So words are very, very powerful, which is why I'm really big in setting intentions each and every week, because when we can set intentions for the week, we're able to kind of rewire our brain to a more positive outlook, a more positive mindset. Again, not that the toxic positivity that you see where you're just like, everything's fine, but you know what I mean? Like at least setting the intention that things are always working out for me. Okay. So the self-sabotage is where you're always like waiting for something bad to happen. Another form of resistance that I see is decision fatigue or lack of motivation, right? So decision fatigue is where there's so many things that you have to, like, you're deciding on this and deciding on this and deciding on this, or you're at like analysis paralysis, if you will, to the point where like you don't do anything. And then you're saying that like, I have a lack of motivation, or sometimes just like typical fatigue can set in. Or you can say like, I'm tired or I'm too busy. I don't have time for it. And so it's not really like lack of motivation. It's just the resistance is building up between you and that desire, you and that goal. Based on what history has taught you, things are always going to come up to get in the way. Okay. And so my question for you is, if you struggle with decision fatigue, where like you feel like you can't make a decision, or if you struggle with like analysis paralysis, which is where like you analyze something to death to the point where you don't do anything. How many people have done that? That used to be me. Or I would just do something and it would be the wrong thing. And then I'd be like, damn it. See, I knew I should have done this. And I second guess myself, and it goes back to that self-doubt. Okay. How do we remove all of that with action? Okay. So this is where our thinking brain, we got to shut off that ego portion of us and start listening to that soul self, that higher self. Remember earlier this week, I was talking about like your inner highest self, that badass, like she wolf that's in you, what would she say? What would she do? And so this is how we squash a lot of this resistance, as we show up as what our highest self would be. Okay. So how bad do you want it? Are you willing to get gritty? Are you determined? Are you committed? And if you're answering no to any of those things, find ways to where you can be committed. Like, what would your life look like if you were 100% committed to your goals, to your dreams, to yourself, to your family, to your finances, to your career, to your business, to your health, to your wellness? What would it look like if you showed up 100% committed? Your life would be very, very different, very different. But just like that car analogy, we start putting trees in our path and then we're playing bumper cars our whole life. And that's exhausting. That's overwhelming, right? So how do we remove the resistance and just say, hey, I'm going to be 100% committed? And so one of the things that I like to say, and I'll get to this here in a minute too, but it's like to stay in your lane, right? Stay in your lane. So think of like a horse and carriage or horse and buggy or just any horse in general, right? So have you ever seen them where they have like the blinders on so that they're not paying attention to anything on the sides? I want you to live life with your blinders on more of the time. So your goal is ahead of you and you have your blinders on and you're just 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, and keep that momentum going. Okay. Don't worry about who else, anybody else. Worry about yourself, because those people aren't worried about you. Everybody's worried about themselves. This is one of the things that I think is so funny, because we always wonder, like, what's so-and-so going to think? And if we give energy and attention to what other people think, people will give us their opinions, right? But if we set boundaries, which is actually what I'm going to get it to here in just a minute, and say, listen, I love and appreciate you for your advice, for your whatever, but this is my life and I'm going to do what works for me. Okay. I mean, has anybody ever struggled with that? Do you have people in your life that feel like they have to chime in all the time on what you're doing? And it's because we let them. We teach people how to treat us. Okay. So this is what's going to get me into the next one here in a second. But the fourth thing of resistance that I see a lot is not feeling good enough or not feeling worthy enough, or we struggle with imposter syndrome. And it's interesting because I've worked with both men and women and not to like offend anybody, but women usually underrate themselves. They feel like they're not qualified, they're underconfident, and they feel like somebody else can do it better. Most of the time, I would say that comes up with women, or like, who am I to do this? I'm not good enough. I'm not qualified enough, blah, 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 blah. Right? Where men, on the other hand, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is just in my personal experience, in both personal life and business life, men overqualify themselves. They're overconfident. Their ego is usually like, you know what I mean? And so they just go for it. And a lot of times men get more chances at things like career because they just go for it. You know what I mean? And so it's interesting. And I think that maybe like history, society, culture has kind of conditioned us to be that way. So I don't think that it's anybody's fault. I just know that that's a belief, that's a story that comes up a lot for women specifically, women particularly. Not that like men don't experience it, but it's just very interesting on how we don't feel worthy, or we're not ready, or it's not the perfect time, or I'm not good enough, or whatever other stories come up. Okay. And so what if you just gave yourself a chance? Think of yourself as like that inner toddler self again. If you were, if you're seeing a toddler run for the first time and they trip and fall, like, you tell them to get back up and keep going, right? You wouldn't be like, ha ha, you fell. I mean, maybe you would. I kind of laugh sometimes, but you encourage them to get back up and keep going. And the way that they learn is through practice, is through action. And that's how they build their confidence. It's the same thing with you for anything that you do, whether it's your goals, dreams, hopes, desires, career, whatever. You have to give yourself a chance. You have to prove to yourself that you are worthy and that you can do that. And how do we do that? With action. You fail forward. Okay. Everybody fails. Everybody fails. But I feel like this is something that's like taboo to talk about because everybody's so hung up on like being perfect. Hell, I'm not perfect. Like I'm not perfect. I am so far from perfect, but I'm still showing up here and sharing this information with you guys because I know it, because in my soul, this needs to be, this is beyond me, right? And so that's what I have to say to yourself. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for other people. And I remember when I did my first live video, I think I was sweating bullets. I thought I was going to throw up. I was like pacing around my house, and now I'm just like, boop, whatever, hit live. But I would have never gotten to that point had I not practiced, had I not taken action. And I've messed up 100 million times. I've cried on live videos. I've burped on live videos. I've dropped my phone. I've had to start and restart again. I've said shit that I regret, but that's just life. That's just life. This is all just part of life. And I think we take life way too seriously. Just have more fun, give less shits more of the time. Okay. And so next thing that I want to talk about is setting boundaries and protecting your energy. Okay. A lot of times we have these hopes, these desires, these dreams, but we don't actually create the space for ourselves to receive it or to actually take the steps towards achieving it. Okay. So the first thing that I want you to do is start creating more space for yourself. And how do we do that? We say yes to more things that bring us joy. We say yes to us more often. Us as in like you, yourself, your family, your values, the things that are important to you. And we say no to the things that we really don't want to do. We say no to the people that we really want to say no to. And this is going to be difficult at first. I find this is a big struggle for people to tell people no, because we're helpers. You know, we want to help people. We want to say yes. We want to do things for other people, whether it's just out of the kindness of our heart or whether it's to validate our own worthiness. You know, sometimes we feel like we're not worthy if we're not doing something. And so it's like, who's busier? Who gets the busiest award? Who helped the most people? And it's not a competition. It's not a piss and match. Like that's no competition that I want to be in. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but that's, I think, where a lot of people get overwhelmed and burnt out and stressed and anxious and all of these things. And they worry about what everybody else is doing or what everybody else thinks of them. And that's no life to live. Like, go back and put your blinders on, stay in your own lane, focus on you, focus what's going to bring you joy. Forget about everybody else, right? Forget about everybody else. Focus on you, because if you're happy, what do you think you're going to project out into the world? More happiness. When you're bitter, when you're angry, when you're stressed, you're overwhelmed, do you think people enjoy being around that? Absolutely not. So say yes to yourself more often so that you can fill your cup, energize yourself, recharge your battery essentially, so that you can go, do things that actually make a difference in the world or will help yourself or help your family or be a happier whatever person. Okay. So create the space for yourself to do your desires. And it can be as little as 5 minutes a day, you guys. I don't want you to like flip the hat and be like, oh, I'm quitting my job tomorrow. I mean, you can if you want. Like, I'm not here to judge. But sometimes it's just the baby steps. It's the small sustainable steps, and you can build it from there. You don't have to have this all or nothing. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It does not have to be all or nothing. Think of it as running a marathon. You're in it for the long haul. Okay. You wouldn't just show up to race day and be like, I'm going to run 26 miles. No, you would probably gradually work your way up to running that 26 miles. And how do you start? With the first mile. So think of your day, your week, your month, your year as like you're running a marathon. You're in it for the long haul. Okay. So even if you take like 5 minutes for yourself, 10 minutes for yourself, 15 minutes for yourself to do action steps, to do things towards your goals, towards your desires, to make you happier, to make you healthier, to make you wealthier, that is going to give you more energy and momentum than if you're sitting there saying, I don't have any time. I don't have any energy. I have to do this for this person. I have to do this for this person. I have to. That's not very empowering. What if I get to, or I can say no to this, or I can do this because I'm choosing to. You want to take back your power, take back your control of your own life. Okay. So say no to the things that you don't really want to do. And one way that I determine how I want to do something versus how I don't want to do something is, one, I don't commit on the spot anymore. That was something that was kind of tough for me because people come up and say, "Hey, Sasha, can you help with this?" Automatically, I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." I'd be like, "Shit, I don't have the space or the capacity to do this." Has anybody else done that? Anybody else been there where they just find that they're saying yes to things, and then after the fact they're like, crap, how am I going to do this? I can't go back and tell this person no because I already told them yes. That's probably one of the hardest things. So I've taught myself to say, let me get back to you. I got to check my schedule. I got to check my schedule. I got to check with my family. I got to check with this. Let me get back to you. And I usually give people a deadline. Let me get back to you in a day or two. Okay. And then I'm creating that space for myself to see if I actually have the capacity to do that, or if I really want to do that. And so when I have that space to just sit and say, is this something that would bring me joy? Is this something that would get me closer to my goals? Is this something that would actually fulfill me? And if any of those answers aren't in alignment with my big picture of myself, I will say, no, thanks for the opportunity. Maybe another time when I have more capacity. And I just leave it at that. You know, at first it was really tough because people would, I think they were just used to me saying yes. So they expected me to say yes. And they were kind of taken by surprise when I would be like, no. And now I think people expect me to say no. And then they're really excited when I do say yes. So it's always fun to see like how that shifts too. Like for example, like somebody asked me to do something a couple days ago and they're like, I know you're really busy. And I really hate that word. Like I live an active life. I try to keep things at a capacity that is functional, is sustainable, but I'm still able to do the things that bring me joy. It took me several years to get to this place. Again, it wasn't the snap of a finger, guys. You got to follow the breadcrumbs and do the things. But people will ask me, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? I know you're busy. You'll probably say no. And then I'll be like, yeah, I can do that. And they're like, oh, no way. That's so awesome. And they get really excited versus like the other way where it's like, I would say yes, 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 yes. And then I'd say no. And then they'd be really bummed out about it. Now I say no, 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 no. And then I have one yes, and they're very excited about it. So the energy is different, right? And so again, with like let's see, what else do I have here? Protecting your energy. So this is another thing. I like to think of like energy vampires, energy leaks, things along these lines where we can feel drained. It's like where other people come into our life, other things come into our life, and they kind of suck the life out of you. They're draining your battery. Does anybody have people like that in their lives? Does anybody have anything like that in their lives? Because I felt at one point I was the life source for everybody around me. And I was constantly running on E because I was just give to everybody else. And I never really gave to myself. And so I would operate on like, you know, a 10% battery. And then I would, you know, what happens when you're on E, right? You're angry, you're frustrated, you're tired, you're snappy. Nobody really wants to be around you, you know? So I had to find a way to say no to those things. Again, going back to the boundaries, but think of it as like your little ball of energy is like a little tiny newborn, right? And you're going to protect that thing at any given cost. And you know these people, you know these things in your life that are sucking the life out of you. Push them away. Think of it as like like you're a warrior in the night and you have a shield and you have this baby and you're protecting this energy baby with all your might. You got to get into that mindset of like, no, I'm protecting this energy because this energy is sacred to me, to my goals, to my family, to the things that I care about. And right now I don't care about that thing. Okay. So you got to place your shield up and protect this energy baby with all of your might. And the more that you do that, the easier it will become. I promise, I promise, I promise. And it will be, people will start to naturally drift away from you just based on you protecting your energy and raising your vibration. Okay. So this is what happens is when you protect your energy stays high longer. And those people who feed off that energy no longer can do that. So they have to find other places to get their energy source from. Okay. Because it's no longer you. You are now disconnected from that person. You can do, for those of you who are into like energy work and things like that, you can do like cord cutting meditations where you're actually like visually cutting that tie between that person. Another thing that I have people do is write letters to them, to whoever it is, and then burn them. Obviously you don't have to like send them to them, or they don't have to read them or anything, but sending them a letter on like how you're letting them go, how you're no longer going to allow them to treat you like this, how you're going to step into your own power, whatever that looks like. I mean, I've had to do this several times, and I just love fire. So I love burning shit. If I'm being honest, don't do this in your house, by the way. I've had people where they've like set off smoke alarms, and I'm like, no, like go outside, like get a fire pit or like a big cauldron or something, and, you know, burn it and bury it or something. But yeah, I mean, those are two ways that you can do like visualizations or like a physical letting go of that person without them ever having to know, but you're cutting that energetic tie, that connection that you have with that person. And then you'll show up a little bit more energized, a little more confident in yourself to be able to continue to say no to those things and protect that little energy baby. Burning my letters worked. I loved it. This is a topic that took me a while to implement, but holy shit, so rewarding. I love these. What else do we have there? Love this. Just listen to a podcast that said failure is progress. Yes. All yes to all of those things. So today, just to kind of recap what we talked about you have to figure out, your step one is to figure out what your resistance looks like. So this is going to be your homework for tonight. Okay. Figure out what your resistance looks like. What are the number one things that come up in your life? What are the number one stories that you tell yourself? What are the number one actions that you do to hinder your progress, right? So we talked a little bit about self-doubt. We talked a little bit about self-sabotage. We talked about decision fatigue, analysis paralysis, lack of motivation, not feeling worthy, not feeling good enough, imposter syndrome, things like that. And if you resonate with all of them, write all of them, because the only way that we're going to overcome these limiting beliefs is by bringing awareness to them and facing them head on. Like punch that fear right in the face and be like, you are not going to control me anymore. Okay. We got to take inspired action to overcome that, to build our confidence muscle so that we can prove to ourselves that we are worthy and we're capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit for. Okay. So step one, homework, is figure out what your resistance looks like. Okay. Step two is going to be, what boundaries can you implement right here, right now, to start protecting your energy? Is it saying no more often? Is it creating space in your calendar? Is it letting go of something that you've been meaning to let go of, but you've been uncomfortable to have that conversation, or you've been avoiding that conversation because of the discomfort or whatever? So figure out what boundaries you need to set, how you can protect your energy. And then the last thing that I want you to do, and this is just fun because you've all had experiences in your life where we've tried to control something, control it. And then finally we throw our hands up and we're like, whatever, I surrender. And then the thing that we wanted to happen actually happens. So when we can really let go of the resistance, let go of the perfectionism, set boundaries, create the space, surrender to the experience, plant the seed, watch it grow, many times that thing will happen for us. So what I want you to do for step number 3, or for homework part number 3, is write about an experience where you've had to completely surrender and what was the outcome of that. Okay. If you can't think of a story that happened where you were just like, screw it, I'm blah, 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 and then it happened. If you can't think of a story like that, I want you to ask yourself, what do I need to let go of right now so that I can allow more goodness to come into my life? So either come up with a story where you've surrendered to the experience and that thing that you desired happened, or what do you need to let go of right now so that thing, you can allow that desire to come into your life. Okay. So that's going to be your homework. Later today, I will be going live again in this group. I am rolling out my 90-day manifest your dream life. I know there's been a few of you who have already joined. We're kicking things off next week. I'm very excited about it. This is a 90-day intensive. It's a group program. basically you can count on law of attraction calls, coffee chats, like what was Trissa was talking about. So Ariel and Trissa have both worked with me in some capacity. So if you haven't watched their videos yet, definitely watch them. We have 3 more guests coming on to share about their experience with manifestation, mindset, things like that. But yeah, I'll roll out all of the details today over the noon hour. But this is going to be an opportunity to work with me at a much lower cost than previously. Okay. Or to be in part of a group, things like that. And so I'll roll out those details here over the noon hour. But in the meantime, go ahead and do your guys' homework. Tomorrow is day 5. I can't believe tomorrow is already Friday. This week has just like, again, going back to that Chronos versus linear time, man. Like when you're in that like that zone of like, everything is always working out for me, like time flies and you just have so much fun and you're just like waiting for more goodness to come your way versus like that linear time where you're like, oh my God, is it bedtime yet? Oh my God, is it time for me to leave work yet? Oh my God, is it my lunch break yet? Like I remember operating in that kind of time and I don't know, it just didn't work for me. So I had to change it. I had to change it up. So I'm giving you the steps on how I did that. But if you guys have questions or anything, you know where to find me. Shoot me a message, comment in here. And everybody that has been doing their homework this week, every time that you submit homework is an entry for our prizes tomorrow. So I have a journal, I have a notebook, I have another law of attraction planner that we're going to give away. I have some cash prizes we're going to give away. I have a lot of cool stuff. There's probably another handful or so of prizes that are going to be announced tomorrow. So I'll do like a whole live video just based on prizes after our training for day 1. And I also rolled out just a deal for you guys who want to have these videos for life, along with my magnetic morning, which is really like setting your day up for success. I don't know if you guys saw that, but we'll have that available till Sunday night for $97 if you want to have access to all of these trainings, all of this content, plus my magnetic morning course for $97. So I'll send that out an email. I'll also put that link in here. But if you guys have questions, shoot me a message. I'll be going live later today. We'll also have, like I said, 3 other gals coming in and kind of sharing tips and tricks about their mindset and manifestation experience. And thank you guys for being here. This is so fun. This just breathes life into me. And I'm excited for those of you who have taken the next step, who are going to be with us in this next 90-day program. It's hard to put into words like how exciting this stuff is and how much can happen in such a short amount of time when you really just go balls to the wall and you just are, you're going for it. You're committed, you're showing up, and amazing things will come to you when you have that type of energy. So anyways, guys, happy Thursday. Thanks for sticking with me. Comment if you watch the replay or comment if you watch this live, and can't wait to see your homework. So catch you later.